We're now streaming live. That's awesome. Okay, well, welcome back, everyone. If this is your first segment, we've been doing this since 12 a.m. Eastern time. Every other hour, we've had a different contributor, and we're going to continue that through, I think our last contributor is at 10 p.m. tonight, Eastern time. It's been just an amazing day of sharing stories and perspectives from just amazing women leaders who give of their time during very important days. Like I'm going to introduce you to Zoe Martin in a second here, and she's actually in Brisbane, Australia. So for her, it's now the 26th, where time is not linear here in this event. And so we're going to bounce over to the 26th where Zoe is. But still, it is a day, I believe you call that Boxing Day in Australia, same as in the UK. There's a whole tradition around the day after Christmas. And so you're giving of your time, and I know that it's pretty early your time. We really appreciate you. Zoe, what I'm going to have you do is just kind of maybe introduce yourself briefly. I know you've been on the Day of Light and Love before, but I think it would be awesome if you just kind of walked us into how it is that you are where you are today, and that you have something to share on in this way. Boy, that's a lot.
I love that though, the walk you into it, which is helpful because I am autistic and I see in pictures. So in that little phrase helps me greatly. So thank you, Dr. Jeanne, for this opportunity and all that you are doing in all of your time. My goodness, that you have donated to humanity. So who am I? Yes, I am Zoe Martin. I am autistic, ADHD and a PDA, so I call myself neuro-divergent. To walk you through how I got here, and where I am today, and my purpose and mission in life is a few years ago, well, many years ago, my little family was literally falling apart. Consists of my husband, myself, and my son, Billy, and my daughters, Emma. And then we were in crisis, complete crisis, our version of crisis, which is unique to everybody. And one by one, starting with my son, he was diagnosed autistic. Then 2 weeks later, my husband at the age of 47. Then 2 weeks after that, my daughter, Emma. So I walked around for the following, well, at least good year, with the attitude, with the frequency that I could fix autism. It was fixable. You know, we could just therapy our brains out and change who they were innately at their essence. And even just saying that, I've got goosebumps. So there is still, you know, stuff in me. And then I guess another 7 months after that, I was diagnosed autistic. So I was no longer the neurotypical mother leading this autistic family that I was going to fix. I thought I was the odd one out here. I was very much in victim mode a lot of the time, yelling, blaming. I needed a rescuer, autism, or my husband was the problem. And here we are, you know, like 6 years later. I am a neurodivergent parent coach. My mess is my message. You know, my business is, as Yvonne would say, I'm my mentor, my isness. So now I get to support parents all over the world who are leading neurodivergent children. What I do is I help them. This is the topic today about motherhood, the future of motherhood now. And I could say the future of, you know, fatherhood as well. So what I help parents do is help guide them back home to their truth. And that's the future of motherhood, which is available for us now.
That's amazing. As you're saying this, I'm thinking, I help people in relationships.
Mm.
And one of the things that's very dominant in what I do when I'm working with people is what you call bringing them home. There's a lot of constraints and constructions. Parenting is like that too. Like societally, we get handed this kind of blueprint, but it's vague. It's very vague, because we see stuff modeled, we're told stuff, we see something different over there. Do you know what I mean? And we have to kind of fumble our way through, but we tend to honor the societal programming, when the truth is the greatest of relationships is when people just know who they are and show up as themselves.
I'm just going to take a breath and bathe in that, because that is it. And we can look at, a lot of the work that I do is in the trauma space. So we are taught, especially when a child is given a diagnosis, that it's a medical disorder. So you get to diagnosis as a parent, generally, with a deep feeling of failure, with a
deep feeling of what?
Failure.
Failure. Oh, yes.
Yeah. A disconnect to your intuition. No, very lacking confidence, because something's wrong. Something needs fixing. Something's broken here. So that just says exactly what you were talking about in relationships. And I've been talking a lot with my clients at the moment about in their parenting relationship. So I could say, I'm Zoe, this is my husband, Scott. When we're not home, it's my pain body talking to his pain body. It's not even Zoe and Scott.
Yeah.
Because if you take cultural, religious, something your mother said, something you read, something a mum in a Facebook group said, something from when you were 5.
Yes.
And see, this is the great news, that all this stuff, it's just on top. This has always been here.
It's just on top.
Yeah. That. So that's the great news. We can't.
The great news.
It's remembering, which is a word that's being used so much. It's getting support. And I said to you before we got on this call, like, this space with you is safe. I don't have to prepare what I'm going to say or worry about it. I just get on here and here we are talking, and it's safe.
Yes.
So parenting now, I'm in a certain space which is loaded with emotion. It is loaded with judgment. The current, in the neurodivergent, autistic, ADHD space, we are smack bang in the middle of massive change. Huge shifts, like legacy, is unfolding. And that's the future now.
Wow.
So I'm autistic. Being autistic is everything to me. And I found out at 42. I found out I was ADHD at 45, like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
These identities, these labels, they've been a game changer for my family.
Can you dive into that? Because I tend to be, it's interesting, I tend to be very label allergic.
Yes.
Because I feel like they do provide a definition in a category, but you can get lost in it becoming your identity and not bringing your own unique self, what society sees as this, but still who you are. And what about maximizing the beauty and the strengths of who you are?
And thank you for saying that, because being resistant to labels, my goodness, that has a right to exist. You know, I still carry some labels from childhood that I don't like and I resist them. And I guess that's what excites me. And I can feel I get this ache on the inside of my cheeks because the smile's like coming from within. You know, that this is so autistic. Okay, I'm autistic. Now, for someone who doesn't like autism or is in a state of resistance and argument and suffering and victimhood with their child, and then that has a right to exist, that they don't like it, that they don't want it. I couldn't even say autism when we started. I said Asperger's. They were Asperger's. And now that's no longer it's no longer a term to be used. We're all autistic. So, you know, the label thing, it's been freedom for me. It originally was more questions and answers, but I grow into my neurodivergence more and more every day, which allows my children to.
Well, I have to say that term neurodivergent, I never met that term until I heard you use it.
It's just coming now.
Oh, that is such a beautiful, it's just a beautiful, see, something like that is very easy for me. I think perhaps it's because it is new. It is a new word, and it doesn't feel confining.
Yes.
Because the word divergent is an expansive word, right? And there isn't a static, like, you are this. No, it's like, wait, what are you? Like, dang, girl, you are lucky. You've got all that space to, to be unique, to express. We're all unique, but to express it in the way that comes through you, that, and at the same time, we are talking about parenting, and, who knows what I would have been assessed as, if I was raised in a different time, maybe even my children, who knows? I don't know. What I do know is that parenting is one of the most beautiful and challenging things that we will ever do, period, regardless of the components of the individuals, because I feel like families have their own DNA. It's an energetic combination of, there's no two families that are the same. There's no two people the same. There's no two, partner relationships that are the same. Why? Because everyone is unique, and therefore, by definition, the creation energetically is unique. So is there anything that you'd like to share about what you have found on that path?
Yeah, that's so awesome. Is what I've just heard you say is each family has their own frequency.
Yes.
So that then leads perfectly into sovereign parents, which is all my go. So sovereignty, this is the future of motherhood, of parenting now, that our children have called forward and it's being answered. So what I feel is the opportunity that is on the table for us, no matter what stage of motherhood you are at, we are at, I am at, is the blessing to be alive now in 2020 is we can choose to do it our own way. Now that's not easy. Yet it is the option.
yeah, it is more of an option today
It
than
is.
ever before
Yes.
that I've been alive in my
I
60
know.
years, right? It's,
How good.
yeah, it really is. And you think about you're contributing to the preparation of the canvas of the future parent and what options will be available for Billy and Zena,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
and that's what gets me out of bed every day. So we are the ancestors.
Mm,
You're a mother, you're a
yes,
grandmother. You
yes,
know, this is the opportunity, and we weren't meant to. I wholeheartedly believe we weren't meant to do this motherhood journey alone. Now, I can continue to come back to my space, which is the, neurodivergent space, and, support and finding someone that you can speak your darkest, most horrible thoughts and words to in safety.
yes,
Because in my space, if there was a dialogue written on what I used to think, about my children, and that
yes,
that was mine, not theirs. They were just
yes,
a symptom. They were just the event of me.
yes,
So there was a lot of parents, a lot of mothers, when we go back to the 1950s, I feel the mother started to awaken then. Yes, she wanted to have children. Yes, she wanted to be a wife when we talk about typicalness. Yet she started to go, wow, I actually have hopes and dreams and wishes outside of this. So
yes,
then she was just the neurotic housewife, just crazy.
yes,
So here we are, it's 2020. We can have it all, but we can't do it all.
mm,
So when we get clear on, you know what, this is not for me, I don't have to do it that way, then our truth comes through and we actually get what we want more and more.
mm,
But when we've got family, opinions,
mm.
eye rolls at the shopping centre, I often laugh to my children and I say to them, I go, what do you think if someone came into our house and evaluated my parenting, and they just laugh and go, oh, mum, you'd get sacked.
Yeah. But it's interesting because I was recently in an exchange with my daughter-in-law, and it did concern my grandson, but it's very interesting how you carry that stuff. You still carry the programming and I very much honor a person's, like, as a parent, I feel like that child was given to the parents, and for a period of time that child is their assignment. And responsible parenting is super important because it's an awesome responsibility to oversee the rearing and to rear without breaking spirit, so that the individual can still shine and not be dumbed down by structure, right? That to me is so important because I have seen that a lot in my life. And so, but it is very interesting how the evolution of parenting is something that I am really interested in because, legacy is a core essence of mine. And there, in our society, in any society, like you were talking about, you said something like, I don't think that motherhood was meant to be done alone or something like that. And I immediately went to farther back on the evolution societally. And you had a supportive tribe. I mean, people joined and felt a responsibility to the other person's child because they were part of the whole. And I feel like maybe in the 80s and the 90s, there was a lot of distancing and competition. We talk in futures. It was very bright, which meant it looked good, but substantively, it was shallow. And I see a very strong move, a trend to interrelational supportive parenting.
I know. Isn't it so good?
It is
I'm
so good.
just like, and where I am now, when this started, like 6 years ago, I could find, and I'm so grateful now because it's led me here, but I could find no one on ground level that had a frequency that matched where my future wanted me. All I could connect with was, this is going to be crap. This is, autism is not good. Get ready for everyone's marriages fall apart. Mothers not looking after themselves. And I ate that sandwich that was put on the platter because that's all I could find. So asked my husband to leave because I couldn't, all I could do was blame him. Thank goodness he didn't. Thank you, thank you, thank you. When you said, I know crying is fully acceptable. When you said, break their spirit, I'm just going to take a breath. That's what I did at times to my son.
Yes.
I put it as I was crushing his soul. Okay, so I take full responsibility for that.
Yes.
In that. And, that it is what it is. When I connect back to that mother and see her screaming to the point of hurting her throat at that little boy while her little girl hangs off her leg, going, please, mummy, stop. Let that anger go through your feet. At the age of 4, she's saying that, and he's 5.
Wow.
And grabbing his shoulders this far away from his face, and screaming at him. That mother, that's all she had in that moment.
That's right.
And this is I use the term all the time because I find it shocking as well, but this is the great news, that I've taken responsibility for that.
Yes.
I got the help and support I needed.
Yes.
And, now here we are. And I do what I do because I couldn't find anybody giving me another option, but it's okay.
Yeah, I was going to say at that time, you resourced what was available.
Yeah.
And yet you recognized, you knew that on some soul level, it was not desirable. And we both study futuring, and part of creating the future that you want involves parking the past. And you can talk about this because now it's a point of reference. But the shame and the blame, the thing that that suffocates the joy of mothers and fathers that I see is the blame and the shame that we try to manage because we didn't show up the way that once you know, you can look at it and go, oh my goodness, right? That you have to release it, and you have to, there's an acceptance that, yes, that was, but I have it as a point of reference, which means I can help a lot of people, but I don't have to live there. And I don't have to drag it as shame and blame. I can name it and know it, but not continue to be it.
Yeah. And I would not be where I am without the mentors and coaching and the work that I've done. So, my truth is, if you think you can alchemize all that and just get over it yourself, no. And, as I've said to my husband, there'll be some conversations go on sometime I envisage between 16 and 20 years of age with the kids, because we have healed and alchemized a lot, and we do every day. But there's some stuff in there that Scott and I can't. So there'll be a conversation with them going, you know what? Big stuff happened between 0 and 6 here.
Yeah.
And this is what can happen if that's not cleared and helped. So let's come up with a plan.
That's beautiful, to be proactive. So part of connecting the future of motherhood now is being proactive. And can you tell me, when you envision, like, I would assume that anyone who's creating a future that's brighter or hopefully even more brilliant than where they currently are, there has to be, I was on with Jennifer Lee just ahead of you, and I mentioned about vision, and she said, well, intention gets built upon and then becomes a vision. And it was a huge takeaway for me, because I believe in living intentionally, but I never really broke it down that way. And sometimes vision is just when you're overwhelmed to the point that you are reaching out for help, that you do know that the light has shone so brightly that you can no longer not notice, right? It might be hard to conjure up a vision because it's almost too much in that moment. But intentions can be built upon, because I think if you look back at your own journey of becoming in parenting to today, I'm sure that it did start out. Maybe, I guess I'm looking for actionable steps, because we're talking to you on the other side of a lot of work, personal work, and, working with coaches and mentors, because that accelerates, it does. It accelerates the becoming. But, we have to wind back. And I know that you work with women kind of frontline, baseline, like meltdown, but they know this is not what they want. So maybe talk, because not everybody is going to really relate to the neurodivergent assessment, which I love that. I love that. It's just sounds so expansive and creative. I just love that. But people, all of who we are starts in parenting. Like, we were parented, right? And when you look back and you start to parent, and you don't really know how to do it. You could read a ton of books, but until you're actually in the driver's seat, so to speak, you can't really say what you would do, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't.
Yeah. I liken it to labor. As I said, I see in pictures and becoming a mother, like people say how labor was going to hurt. And I'm like, oh, okay, And then, okay, got it. Same with parenting. Oh, it's going to be this. Okay, yeah, cool. Okay, right. Now I'm in my own experience. And, you know, when Jen was talking about intention, what was coming up for me, and it may not be exactly intention, but a mantra meaning a mind tool that I continuously use is everyone is doing the best they can in any given moment. Now, this only used to apply to some people for me. I'll be like, yeah, you're doing the best you can, but you suck, you are not, right? Whether it was family or anyone. Whereas now, more often than not, it includes humanity.
Oh, I love that.
So actionable steps for a parent is this whole parenting. It starts with us. If we can just take a breath and go, you know what? It isn't even about the child. It isn't even about our partner or our mother-in-law or whoever. This is about me. And when something that is so big in my space is behavior is communication. Now I can so easily apply that to my children. If it's a meltdown, if it's a hole in the wall, if it's calling me names, rudeness, things that may not be tolerated in anyone else's house, but is welcomed here most of the time, depending on how good I'm feeling. They're trying to tell me something. So when I'm connected, behavior is communication.
Yeah.
I like to say that for myself too, when I'm being rude or using tone or being dismissive or critical to my husband, and he calls me out on it, and I'm still a victim. Oh, well, behavior is communication. Look underneath it, you know. Yeah, it is. So it's like the holes and we can just be, until we can get a place where we can look at what we're doing, and normally it's just piece by piece, bit by bit, and go, you know what, I don't like that I do that. And then where has that even come from? And see, now our conversation is slowing down. I can feel the rhythm. It's coming to an end. This is now slowing down. It's like, who was that? My mum's voice? This doesn't even fit anymore. Yes. I don't want to be her. So that's your indicator.
Yes.
And then where to from here? You know, support, and something that I have found in my space is I have received so much guidance, so much information, so many opinions, probably about $50,000 worth in the first few years of what went on here from people who weren't neurodivergent. And I can tell you now, 6 years later, that most of that was of no use.
Yeah.
So now seeking out neurodivergent, you know, professionals, as you said before, you know, there's a different frequency when someone's lived it, done it, tasted it. It's never going to be the same experience.
No.
So, you know, my wish for mothers all over the world, you know, is may they see that their that the change of motherhood, the future of motherhood, is now. And may they connect with their intuition and their truth even more, and continue to call forth on their courage to create leading their children, like leading, loving and parenting from their truth.
Wow. It was like a benediction, what you just said. It's really fabulous.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. You're just a beautiful human. I'm so glad to be alive at the same time as you.
I honor you so much, Zoe. I've learned so much from you, and I know I will continue to. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Happy Boxing Day. Is it Happy Boxing Day?
Yeah.
One day I'll actually research that and figure out what the heck that is. And
I
maybe
don't know what it is. I know my husband plays golf, so he's at golf. And I have fed my children and said, look, I'm on with Dr. Jeanne. If it's urgent, come in. Otherwise, I'll see you when
I love it. But it's a beautiful, the honoring of the day after is, I feel like I want to adopt that as a tradition.
It's family and fun day to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I get from it. So it's beautiful. Zoe, thank you so much. Much love to you.
Thank you, Dr. Jeanne.